One Jared Hook Sports Show. Forgot my glasses, so off to a good start. We see. No pun intended. Gonna be a short video. Really, the only thing I want to talk about, and I'll get into further with the other series and everything else going on in the NBA. I'm sure I'll have stuff to talk about with the NFL. The NHL is moving along pretty well, actually. So MLB's got stuff going on, so I will have other things to talk about, like I always say, but this specific video is going to be about Ben Simmons. The conversation around him since the beginning of his career, I felt like has been, I don't know. I mean, I'm a Philadelphia fan, and it's hard to say it's unfair. I don't know how to explain it. It has not, I don't think he's portrayed properly. Okay, I guess that's the best way to put it. The reason I'm doing this video on him is because for whatever reason, the Sixers won Game 2 of their series last night. It was June 9th, sorry, 2021. The second game, they won. So it's 1-1 versus the Hawks. Trae Young has been going off every game in this playoffs, okay? Not just in the series, every game in the playoffs. And he does that even in the regular season often. He's just been going off, okay? Like to an extreme extent. Ben Simmons was not on him for the entirety of Game 1. Him and Matisse Thybulle, you would think, would be on Trae Young most of the game. It was Danny Green early. Trae Young cooked him. The stats showed when Ben Simmons was on him, Trae Young didn't have his best performances. He was still doing all right, but when that was in Game 1. Game 2 comes. All right. Game 1, Ben scored 17 points. Looked pretty engaged offensively, but they were down 20 at one point, or actually for most of the game, it felt like. Their comeback came when he really wasn't, the one being the contributor on offense. Got some rebounds, got some assists like he always does, and okay. But the Sixers lost Game 1, okay? Game 2, he scored 4 points. Bunch of rebounds, not so many assists, not so many rebounds, but a bunch of assists. So, okay, 4 points in Game 2, but they won, and they were up 20 points early. The game got close. They go up 20 points again late. So, like 8 minutes into the game, they're up 20. 5 minutes left in the go. 8 minutes left in the game in the go. They're up 20, okay? Ben had 4 points all game. Don't get me wrong, he needs to shoot free throws better. This isn't like a let's all praise Ben Simmons. There's no question he needs to shoot free throws better. Free throws better. There's no question. But point is like he didn't have to be going at the basket over and over and over again. And even if he is going to the basket over and over again, he doesn't have to be the one putting the shots up over and over again. His role on this team is supposed to be the elite defender. Okay, be the guy who takes out the best player on the other team offensively every night. You be that guy. Okay, you be the elite guy. James Harden got clowned for his defensive efficiency, or inefficient, I guess, for how not he just wasn't all that good defensively most of his career. It was a talking point for a long time, but he was so good offensively that he was still an MVP caliber player. He was still put up in the upper echelon. Blah blah blah. Ben Simmons defensively is that good. And offensively, he's better than what James Harden ever was defensively, if you understand my cross comparison here. So what I'm trying to say is, like, I think because you can't really put numerical stats on people like me, there's advanced stats that do love the defensive rating, and I'll break some. I'll talk a little bit about that because I have some numbers to compare just to explain why I feel this way. Like, he's elite defensively, and I'm not saying Trae Young. Trae Young had 21 points, and we're calling that shut down. Okay, I mean it's shut down, right, for Trae Young. I think we would all agree. It's a big reason why the Sixers won because he didn't score 40. He scored 21. He's been scoring 40 all the time, right? So Ben Simmons played better than anybody has so far on Trae Young, right? So he was putting so much energy and being so good defensively, so impactful defensively, scored 4 points offensively, and they won. They don't need him to be a 20-point scorer. Is it nice when he scores 20 points? Yeah, sure. But he scored 17 points in Game 1, and they were down 20 points most of the game. So that is the best way. It is in a bubble, in a little bottle, not in a vacuum. The best way for me to explain why the conversation of he scored 4 points so he wasn't around is nonsense. Is that when he scored 17 it didn't matter. When he scored 4 they looked way better. His role on the team is not to be the guy to score all those points. The Sixers figured out that Tobias Harris and Danny Green and Curry And Embiid need to be the guy to get the points. That's why they're out there. And I know Danny Green's not even really getting the points. He's closer to Ben Simmons shooting lately, and that's not good for him because he's not playing good defensively either. It's starting to become more reliability often than not. But if you get a guy like Shake, and don't get me wrong, exceptional things happen in the game for them to win. It's playoff basketball. That's a good thing. I mean, exceptional things happen for the Hawks and they didn't win, so that's a good thing, right, for the Sixers. Um, like two players on the bench scoring more points than they averaged all season, like one by 7 and one by 11. So you know what I mean? Like one, like that's a lot more than what you're supposed to in a playoff game from the bench. Anyways, that's something that you would almost always expect to win in a situation like that, and they didn't, right? So that's how good the Sixers ended up being overall. All that to just say that the conversation and the way people have been talking about Ben since the beginning of his career, I just think is it's completely off base. And he's only 24 years old. That's the other thing. I mean, like we talk about him like he can't get better. Don't get me wrong. Do we feel like we should have seen a lot more growth between year one to now offensively? I will not argue that at all. That it's it. I wish he would just take a jump shot every now and then too. He's my favorite player on the Sixers. I wish that he would sometimes just put it up because my argument is Westbrook does that really. Westbrook's not like the greatest shooter. He has nights he can go off and be a good shooter, so that's why he does that. But for the most part, he's not. He's not the most accurate shooter. If Ben were just to like, that's what Ben would look like if he put up 22 shots a game on the really bad nights for Westbrook, and because he's not, because that's what Ben is all the time. He's a bad shooter all the time, so he's not going to put up 22 shots. Like he's not going to put up like 12 jump shots, right? I'm not looking for that though. I would like to see him, twice a game, maybe take a 15-footer, maybe once every now and then, just chalk it up from three. And if you get a couple to go in, it'll make them respect you a little more. It does open up the rim. I agree with that. What everyone's assessment and how everyone has felt about him being able to get more points and be involved a little more offensively. I don't disagree with all that. But he's still a facilitator. He still runs the offense. He still is a big tempo guy. And at the end of the day, what I would like to ask for Ben Simmons, I love to see what he does when he brings the ball down, finds a guy, makes a nice pass, or just tosses it over and beat and go to me, toss it over and go stand in the corner, see if they can throw you some water while you're standing there watching the rest of the offense. Because when you get down at the other end, you got to go stop Trae Young again. That was enough in game two to win. And that's what the Sixers are going to need. The Sixers are going to need Ben Simmons to shut down elite players with his defense, and Matisse to be pretty good because you go to the next round and it looks like the Sixers are going to have to play Brooklyn. So you're going to need two guys to be elite, shutting people down for most of the game. So if Ben doesn't put up 17 points, oh well. If they win, that's all that matters. And if he does what he did defensively in game two, that's all that matters. So he's top tier defense at 24 years old. When LeBron was 24 years old, okay, LeBron's rebounds and assists were the same as Ben. LeBron scored at like 26, 27 points a game at 20. Okay, all right, 12 more points than Ben. All right, Ben is like 6 or 7 different point differential. Okay, defensively better. So sure, overall LeBron at 24 years old, technically by the point, if you want to go by overall points circulated or however you want to describe that for the analytics people that see it further. Technically, Ben's not super far behind what LeBron is at. Again, stats don't always bear everything out, but it's just a good example of he's so elite defensively that that's how much closer it brings him, and he's that far away from him scoring wise. So at the same age of 24, Ben has a 106 defensive rating, okay, which is incredible. I mean, 100 is really good. I think Kawhi had like a 110, 109. Like he was insanely good this season. He was. I know. I think it's weird he's not even getting talked about for defensive player of the year because what he had to take on and the things he did. But he's in that out where he doesn't talk about it. No one puts on for the Clippers. So that's probably what it really is. But like Rodman's best year was a 102 defensive rating. Ben's at a 106 just this year alone. I mean, and Rodman's known as a top 5 defender or top 10 defender on most lists. Hakeem is known as the best defender on most lists. His highest ever was a 101. Ben's a 106 right now. Again, asked to do different things. I totally understand, but at the end of the day, Hakeem wasn't asked to guard the best player every single night. Now, back then, the centers were. I'm not taking anything away from Hakeem. I'm not saying much better than Hakeem. My point is he's in these people's range. Dennis Rodman, David Robertson, Hakeem, look, he's better than what LeBron was defensively at 24, and we all know LeBron got better as he aged. So, like, it's just there to me. There's so much, um, and I was just excited today to be able to listen to my podcast or my shows or watch my shows or whatever. Get on Twitter and just see that everybody Embiid scored 40. Yeah, that's awesome. Tobias was a killer for the first 2.5 3 quarters. Seth put in his numbers and Danny Green was Danny Green, but Shake went off. Like, Ben Simmons didn't shut down Trae Young, but he stopped him from scoring 40 points, which was a huge difference in the game. They didn't score. They were 30-point difference, Atlanta was, from the first game to the second game. Almost a 30-point difference. Like, because of Ben Simmons locking down their best player mainly. And everybody who, so when I was listening to all the stuff today, I was just like, why are we talking like I get it, okay? And the two guys that really made me mad the most are football players. Ryan Clark, he said that Ben Simmons, wasn't around, and Jaden Sharp, he was saying that Ben Simmons wasn't around, and then he said nobody on the Hawks shot well. And as I pointed out earlier, two guys off their bench shot better than their season. There were 72 games played this year. They shot better than their 72 game season average. But he said nobody shot well. And Clint Capella only missed 2 shots all night last night. So again, and to me, I said it in my last video. I felt like the Sixers were still a better team after game 1. I felt like I could be wrong, but as good as Atlanta played, as good as Atlanta could be, that I felt like was their best punch, and I felt like the Sixers would be able to still do it in 5, maybe 6 games. I still feel that way. Like, I mean, they were up by 20 at one point. The game got back to with 1 or 2. They made it 10. The game got back within 1 or 2. They made it 15. They were losing by 1. They made it 20. Like, the Sixers. So, like, it was like there was nothing that they couldn't handle. You know what I mean? It seemed like every time everything avalanched against them, they were able to just pick it back up and go. And that's what you expect from a team like this in this situation. But a lot of that was just because I had the confidence with Ben on the other end that they weren't gonna. Atlanta wasn't gonna be able to do that all night. People talked about Trae Young struggling very much in the first quarter for that exact reason. So I just expected to get on the shows and listen to my stuff today. And again, I don't listen to shows or watch my shows or like just all the sports stuff. I don't do that for confirmation or affirmation. I listen to people that I disagree with. I watch, and the Shannon Sharp thing, again, both those actually came across my Twitter timeline. But the stuff, even the things the people I listened to, were really saying the best things about Ben. And I was just like, I feel like the overall national narrative is people just really don't understand it. They can't, for whatever reason, comprehend. It's like, okay, here's the best thing. I have, I don't know how to explain it. When I read stuff, okay, when I read something like on a piece of paper, if I read it out loud, I might be able 2 minutes later to not even explain to you what I just read because I'm so focused on reading the words because it's just like a learning disorder type thing, like when it's just comprehension skills, okay? So I've learned how to cope with that. I read things 2, 3 times. I read it to myself. I read it out loud, whatever. I've learned how to cope with something like that. But to me, this is a comprehension thing. Like people are saying they watch the game, but they don't understand Ben Simmons' impact on it. They're saying like he's not like he disappeared. Like where was he at? And it's like it's a comprehension thing. You're reading it, but you're not comprehending what's in front of you. And I understand that I just said 2 football players, but those 2 football players are on national shows, and they talk about sports all national topics all the time, and they help drive the narrative that like the reckless. It's stupid. It's to me that is stupid when you're talking basketball. You're breaking it down beyond incorrectly by saying that he doesn't impact the game. So, um, it, look, I've been told his whole career and Embiid's whole career they can't win together. I've been told Ben's got to be more efficient for them to win. They keep on being one of the top teams in the NBA over the last couple years. So, yeah, are they going to need? Can Ben Simmons be a number 1 and win a championship? Probably not. I don't know if that'll ever happen. Can he be a number two? Maybe. And with a guy like Tobias, is this year going to be enough? Maybe not with James Harden and Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and what Brooklyn's doing. Maybe not. I don't know. I still feel like there's I'm interested to see it, but I'm definitely less confident than I was going into the playoffs with how good Brooklyn's playing. So sometimes teams are just better. That might actually be the case. And sure, but like right now, after the win, the day after the win, the things I was hearing, I was just like, all right. People are trying to set it up like they're smart basketball people, when at the end of the day, it's just next round. If the Sixers aren't as good as Brooklyn, they just won't be as good as Brooklyn. And it's Ben Simmons going off for 30 or 40 isn't going to change that, because if he does that, then he's not going to be any good defensively, and Brooklyn's going to put up 150. But I get, again, back to comprehension. A lot of people probably might not even comprehend what I was just saying. So thank you for watching. If you did, this went way longer than I was planning and intending to. I was just frustrated, emotional. Probably showed that throughout this video about it. Like I said, Ben Simmons is my favorite player on the Sixers, so it's frustrating. I didn't want to hear people talk greatly about him all day, but I just didn't want to hear people talk down on him after what I felt like going to sleep last night was such a big, impactful game from everybody. They did their job. I mean, we always say, with the Patriots, do your job. Whatever, do your job. Everybody on the Sixers, I felt like, except for maybe Danny Green, different conversation, did their job in game two. And that's why the Sixers got the win. And I think they can continue to do that throughout the series. So thank you for listening to me rant, talk about Ben Simmons. Definitely get to more stuff in the future. Go to